I seriously don't understand why so many teachers and professors in science neglect to remind you of how this works, because you'll see this kind of thing all the time. So from math class, you learned about numerators and denominators and how you can kind of switch them around and play around with them as long as you flip the sign. But here's a reminder. See this 1 over x here? There's an invisible little 1 in the exponent position in that denominator or that downstairs x. I could write this alternatively as just x to the negative 1. I can bring that x upstairs as long as I flip the sign of the exponent. This becomes clear with this example. So I have 2 over a cubed. I could also just write that as 2 times a to the negative cubed. I bring the a to the cubed upstairs, but I gotta flip the sign when I move it. Here, we can go the opposite direction. So we have a squared b minus 3c to the fourth. I could write that as a to the 2. C is already positive, so I could write c to the 4. But if I want to make it a stacked format, I would bring the b downstairs, flipping that minus 3 into just a 3. And that's another way to write it. Now this is a real unit that you might see in some chemical kinematics type of thing, which is m times s to the negative 2. If we want to write that in the alternative format, just keep in mind that this negative 2, I can make that a positive 2 if I shove the s2 downstairs, so it becomes m over s to the 2. Here we have newtons per meter, or Newton divided by meter, which means I could write this in another format as just n times m to the negative 1. Let's go the opposite direction with this one. Newtons times an m to the negative 2. Now we can do the same thing we did up there. I could actually make this a stacked format as n over m to the 2, which also could be written out as n slash m to the 2. And then lastly, we have moles over liters, or moles per liter. I could write this way, mol times an L to the negative 1, because there's still that 1 up there that we did not see in the exponent position of the denominator, and I just brought it upstairs, but I flipped it to make it a negative 1. So in a textbook or in anything, you might see it this way, or you might see it this way. Just be careful and be sure that you can go back and forth. I'll end with a really common example, whereas the first time I remember seeing it, which is grams per cubic centimeter. Grams per cubic centimeter I could also write as grams stacked over a cubic centimeter. But I remember the first time I saw it, and I was like, what in the world is a gram times a centimeter to the negative 3? In reality, it's just the same thing. The denominator is there, but if you bring that denominator up, make sure you flip the sign.